If you want to know why they're recording the podcast, follow the money. Because All the President's Men is coming up next. Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevenet. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time, and I believe it's both of us. This is a blind watch for both of us.
Never seen it.
We both just finished watching this within the past hour or two. Like, we are coming in hot with hot takes, celebrating the 50th anniversary.
Yes, celebrating the 50th anniversary later this year. And here we are, we're covering it. And we just figured, we were just talking over movies like last week. We're like, Ty, name a movie off your watch list on Letterboxd. I was like, I have All the President's Men there. And you're like, let's do that. That's the one.
I was like, that's also one I have on my watch list that I really wanted to do. I wanted to, before we dive into the show, I wanted to give a quick RIP to Alamo Drafthouse, which used to be a favorite of ours. Not that they're going out of business, but they have announced that they are getting rid of the pen and paper and the strict cell phone enforcement policies that they used to have that used to, make them worth going to.
Everything.
And now everything's going to be mobile. You can order your food on your phone. They don't need, when something just stinks of vulture capitalism, like, I've done no research into this, but when I just know that some venture capitalist group has bought into Alamo Drafthouse because they have these big locations, because that's why a theme of this episode is going to be follow the money. It's a very big part of All the President's Men.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here, I put the connection together while I was doing it. I was like reading the stuff on Alamo Drafthouse, which, I'm in Nashville. There is unfortunately not an Alamo Drafthouse near me, but Tommy, you and I have gone to several Alamo Drafthouse screenings and have had just a wonderful time there. Always a great experience.
Yeah. I used to live like 10 minutes away from the one in Yonkers. So it sucks because it seems like the big draw of Alamo was always like, okay, like no phones. They take that shit seriously. You can't talk during the movie either. And now it's just like, I know Sony has like a stake in it. I think they bought a good amount of it. And I wouldn't be shocked if there's some venture capitalism going on too, where it's like, let's just strip this for all its parts and like destroy what made this place like great. So it's just like, yeah, if I want to go to AMC, I go to AMC, and I'm an A-list member, but if I want to be watch an old movie and like not be worried about people on their phones, I'm going to go fucking Alamo Drafthouse. So I tell a person, get the fuck out of here. Or at least they used to.
And you and I have had the conversation about etiquette in the movie theater and how it's since post-COVID, it's just been horrendous.
I have a funny story.
Yeah, go.
Last night I went to go see The Bone Temple 28 years later, the new one. And the guy next to me that was sitting next to my girlfriend and I just fell asleep and started snoring loudly towards like the end of the movie. And I immediately was like, fuck this now. So I woke him up.
So I can talk, because this makes me think of when you and I went to go see Logan, and that dude just like 15 minutes in just fell asleep, because I think we went to like a 9:00 screening, and that dude was snoring throughout the entire movie.
I must have trauma blocked that.
I can tolerate I can tolerate that. Like,
it's one thing if it's a couple rows ahead, but it was like literally in my right other ear.
Oh,
yeah.
Just like, I don't blame you for waking next to me.
I woke him up and the guy's like, oh, he got so startled. And then I was like, he's like, oh, dude, sorry. I was like, dude, you fell asleep. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Was I snoring? It's like, it's all good. It's all good. Watch the movie. It's the Bone Temple right now. They're at the Bone Temple.
They're at the title of the movie now, dude.
Yeah. Come on, man. You got to get locked in.
They said the thing. They said the title. I know what that is.
literally. But I know you mean with Alamo though. It's just like they were just so much more like felt like curated, and I feel like now it's our first experience really with like indie art house theaters for us. I feel like in a way, because that was right when we first started getting into film a lot, and then now it's just like
it was a chain location to go to like an art house theater that might not be available to you, right? Like not all places have that. Like Like we had New York City when we were living in Westchester when we were younger, but you still have to take an hour 20, an hour train ride in, an hour train ride back. Like it's a big production. Sometimes after work, you don't have time to go do that. But you have the Alamo Draft House there. You get to go see. They had. We saw Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me there. Like we
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
I remember that was right when we started the podcast and we debate. I was like, should we do it then? And then it was like, nobody's gonna care. Nobody's gonna care about Twin Peaks Fire
Well,
Walk with Me.
well, now we could get away with it, but like back then when we first started out, we were like, okay, what are like the broadest movies we can? So we picked Scrooge as our second episode.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very random, but no, I know what you mean, and I'm also missing a screening of the original Twin Peaks episode near me tonight for this. So
Wow.
yeah,
It would have been totally okay if you postponed for that.
I was like, do I care? See a
Here,
TV
here,
show in a
here
movie theater.
here's the thing
Granted, it's
about
Stranger Things.
here's the thing with that pilot episode though. That first episode. If you watch that again, it'll hook you right back in. That pilot is so good.
It
'Cause
is. It is.
I
I
show
rewatched that
that
last year.
I show that thing to people, and then I'm like, I gotta keep watching it.
I
Like,
can't just stop.
I can't just stop. And then I get to the point in season 2 where it goes off the rails, and I'm like, oh, like I want to get to the end, but it's so hard to get to the end because these episodes are brutal,
Yeah,
brutal.
yeah,
That's my Twin Peaks commentary for the day. I'm really glad I got that out. I appreciate you bringing that up. It was like a nice softball. You just served me up
yeah,
there.
yeah.
It was a little
Just give you a
teasball.
little dose, like a little micro dose of Twin Peaks,
Well,
right
listen,
there.
it was Bartolo Colon icing one to D. Gordon the day after Jose Fernandez died. Like I get it, I get it. You just sometimes have to do it. Um, One other story on etiquette. Over the holidays when I was in New York, I went to go see um the Radio City Christmas Show Spectacular, which is spectacular. The Rockettes, they knock it out of the park with the
Who would have thought?
dancing. Like the crowd etiquette was just horrendous. Like this has now gone into the theater. Like the crowd
Mm.
etiquette was horrendous. Um, like
Well,
there
isn't
was
that a concert though?
it's no, it's a show.
Okay, okay.
It's a show. It's not a concert. It's a dance show. There's signs everywhere that says, "Please do not use your cell phones." Um,
Yeah.
People were coming. The show is 90 minutes. People were coming in 50 minutes in, like getting shown to their seats. There was a woman sitting in front of us who was, I kid you not, taking the worst photos of the Radio City Christmas Spectacular. Just like as far back as you could possibly see, and just like she every 3 minutes just taking her phone out and taking another picture. And I'm like, I feel really bad for whoever is going to have to sit through that slideshow, but also I have to now endure this person doing it like right in front of me. And there was like 5 or 6 other people just taking pictures, and then there were people, 2 women, in speaking in Russian the entire time through this show. I was just like, what has happened? It's making me want to run for Congress and just run on like teaching children manners, like putting a manners class in schools. Like seriously, like
Yeah.
what happened to etiquette and decorum and everything that we used to hold dear
All
in
of
this
it.
country? It's gone. It's
It's not
now
there.
like it's spread from movie theaters into a concert, into a show. Okay,
Oh no, yeah,
it's horrendous.
as someone that like works in like shows for a living, like yeah, you see it all the time in concerts where like even like I've had like singers like tell me like backstage how they hate how people are like on their phones constantly. And, like this was a conversation I had in, like 2017. It's only gotten worse since then.
Oh,
So I'm not shocking.
you were with me right when we went to that Tame Impala show at the Capitol, and they put everybody's
Oh, the
phone in
yonder
this.
pouches.
Yes, it was the best experience. It was the best experience.
It was great. I mean, I've seen like Dave Chappelle do that and stuff like that. I've seen
Yeah,
like Aziz Ansari stand-ups do that a lot too. I do remember a funny anecdote was that I told her friend Ryan Davey right before they went on stage, Tim and Paul, we all put our phones in the yonder pouches. I said we were really high, and I was like, what if they just go out on stage and like start shooting us into the crowd? And just start shooting like fucking machine gun bullets, and that's why they don't want the phones out, so that no one can escape. And he was like, "Why the fuck do you just tell me this right now?" He started having a panic attack because of my scenario.
that is
You know, how do you-
no notes, Tommy. That is just incredible anecdote right there that I was not present for, because I like bumped into people from college I hadn't seen. Like I was just running, like just talking to
Meanwhile, I'm
people. It was
just
great.
I'm just like thinking like, what if like this is like an elaborate way to like fucking like kill us all?
What was the metal band? The Death
Oh,
Eagles or E-
Eagles of Death Metal. Yeah, that
Eagles of
fucked up
Death
shit.
Metal? Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Well, back to All the President's Men.
Back to All the President's Men. We haven't even touched on the movie here. This falls into the the journalism thriller. Like it's not even a political thriller. It's just a journalism thriller, which
Yeah, yeah,
there
in a way. I mean, they touch upon it obviously, but like it's not like it's at the forefront
no,
of every.
because like a political thriller is like would be from the perspective of the aide trying to give this information away, right? Like this is not that. This is a journalism thriller. There's been many attempts at this kind of genre. I feel like only two have stuck, maybe three. So all the
Spotlight being the other one.
Spotlight is the other obvious one. Would you consider Zodiac a journalism thriller?
I think it definitely has elements of it.
It definitely borrows from
There,
this, but it
yeah.
it follows the cops too much in Zodiac, I think, for it to be like a true journalism thriller in the way that Spotlight is. Um,
Mm. This is a movie also that like it being a journalistic thriller, and even like moments of a political thriller in it too. That mostly is just people talking back and forth, and yet the direction by on Jay Pakula is like so excellent and so dynamic that like you're just hooked throughout this movie,
it
and you're
it's
immediately
got
going
that
in.
it's got that it's got that Friedkin-esque, like I was thinking of The Exorcist when I was watching this, of like that
Yeah,
Friedkin documentary style, just like very, very sharp, very concise, but very like and procedural.
even the blocking of this movie just
Oh,
like
it's
it tells
fantastic.
tells a story in itself where like you have characters that are like pretty much hanging out in a completely different room while talking to them and like
Oh,
not about to go up the steps because they don't want to get closer
when
and
the scene when Redmond's character is Woodward is trying to find the guy in Minneapolis, when they're trying to base it off the guy on that was named in the checks, and he's doing the calls, and you hear in the background like some of those you know, audio that's going on in the background. There's some political speech going on, and we watch the entire office go up and like watching the TV. Like clearly, this is the big story of the day. This is what this newsroom is going to be primarily focused on. And
mm,
over here in this little world, and like we, the audience, knowing what happened with Watergate, like know how big of a deal this story is, but how little interest this story actually has at the moment, and how like it's just a subtle way of showing it. Like while we're also
yeah.
getting information, like it's just great filmmaking. Like little moments like that are
And
littered throughout this film.
I think one of the best ones to point out would be like a split diopter shot with a TV, which you don't really see that often. Like there's like multiple instances of it. One at the end of the movie, one like towards the middle of the movie, where the one that first caught my eye was during the RNC National Convention where Nixon sworn in. And it just focuses one shot, one half of the screen is just focused on the TV and showing the thing and showing the broadcast of the RNC convention. The other
So
half is
that
just
that was
Redford.
the that's the ending of it. Are you talking about the
Well,
ending? Because he's
there's
sworn
another
in.
there's another one in the middle. I'm talking about the
At the
one
middle,
where
at the so you would win the nomination there, but you're not sworn in until you're the president, Tommy.
well, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Mm, I just
he
don't
as
want
the
to
Republican
confuse
candidate.
viewers. I just don't want to
Yeah.
confuse viewers who have seen the movie. Just
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Well, I meant like at the RNC convention when he's pretty much like given the nomination, accepts the nomination. That's what I was talking about. And you have the one scene playing the TV and the one scene, the other half of the screen showing Redford just like locked in, writing away and typing away. It just shows just like how much he doesn't give a shit about the current things. He needs to focus on this specific story right now. And I thought it was incredible. So it made a really dynamic movie within just the direction itself, and a movie that could have easily been boring, if not well directed.
well, I think that's where other. I haven't seen Spotlight in a couple of years, and this has made me like scratch the itch of being like I should probably watch Spotlight again, just to kind
That's I
of
haven't seen it for me.
really.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's a great movie. It's r- really it's a different story, but it's from what I remember, there's a lot of DNA from Spotlight in all, a lot of DNA of all the president's men in Spotlight, obviously.
Mm. Oh,
Um,
100%, yeah.
a lot of that it's in there because I think what I'm seeing with these two stories, and when you're telling like the true story, is that it's like the journalists have this inkling that there's something more here. Like there's clearly it's a conspiracy theory movie in essence, right? Like it has
Mhm.
those roots, it has that element to it, and as we continue, they just keep digging deeper because it's clear there's something more in the well here. Like there's the break-in at the Watergate hotel, and I guess for like us, at least for me, who's loves my history, like we think of it as this monumental moment, and it's this fracturing of the United States as a whole. Like that symbolism of the presidency, it's really the first time it's ever been completely crumbled like that. That like
Yeah.
that there's such high level corruption going on in the White House. The fact that it like this movie iterates, and to any of our older viewers, please let us know because listeners, because we don't know what it was like to live by it, but they really make it sound like, yeah, the Watergate break-in was just an afterthought at first. It was just like these five
Well, the
Cuban
fact that
guys.
like what's his name, like their head editor, Ben Bradley, played by Jason Robards, like says like towards the end of the movie, like this is before the Nixon resignation. He's like half the country doesn't even know about Watergate.
Like
It's what
who
the fuck.
gives who cares? Yeah.
Yeah, who gives a shit? And it's like kind of showing. I feel like it's something that unfortunately has been like for some people lost to time. Like I've had
Of
people ask
course
me
it
like, "What?"
is. Of course it is
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's one of the biggest scandals to ever come out of the White House.
Yeah, and somehow it's not, like, been, like, etched in our memories in a way it should be. And there's always this tweets now, like, a brief, like, talk about today where it's like, would this even, like, be a story?" And, like, this, current administration, that's a whole other story we don't need to get into, but
We don't do politics on this show.
yeah,
Would it be a
but
story, Tommy? Would it be a story though? Yes, it would be a story. Your big problem would be convincing people who refuse to acknowledge any
yeah.
truths that are delivered to them. That would be your main instance. But I mean, if you dive into the history of it, there were Nixon truthers back in the day too.
Oh,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
there were people who did not believe this story. So
Mm.
it's all parallel, my friend. That's the beauty of history. But speaking of history, let's do this part quick. What have you watched recently, Tommy? Can you give me a movie? Can you give me something, dude, that you want to talk about?
Alright, I guess I'll dive back into the Bone Temple.
Yeah.
Always love visiting the Bone Temple. So 20, getting a lot of mileage out of that name. So 20, I saw 28 years later, the Bone Temple, and I thought it was a really fun follow-up sequel. This is a weird case where like the first 28 years later only came out like 6 months ago.
Yeah, it
And
was it was
I
recent.
yeah, it's a quick turnaround. So they filmed them back to back. I mean, Danny Boyle did the one that came out last year. I love that movie. One of my favorite movies of last year. And Nia DaCosta, who mostly has been known for directing like the Candyman reboot and for the Marvels, the Miss Marvel like sequel,
Mm,
which
mm,
Kevin Feige,
mm.
Kevin Feige effect right there. But this new one just shows it kind of like the difference in director, but in a good way. Where like Danny Boyle version of the movie is much more methodical, much more like thought out, emotional, like and like world building, all this stuff. Anita Costa, sometimes it's like the case of a sequel where now that all the world building's out of the way, we can just fucking rock and get out of the way and just
Let
like
it rip.
this, let it rip. Like the best case would be like Spider-Man from Spider-Man 2, where like Spider-Man 1 has all the origin story bullshit and like
Mhm,
whatever.
mhm.
Then you get the Spider-Man 2, it's like, okay, he's fighting Doc Ock. Like, well, you know, he's Spider-Man. You know he's Spider-Man. It's kind of similar to this, where this one's like, okay, there's a bone temple. We talked about in the first movie. This movie's all about the Bone Temple, and it's all about these
Really?
like kill.
I
And
couldn't tell from the title.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Seriously, and this new one is also just like all about the guy from Sinners. What's his name? Is it Jack O'Connell, the guy who played a vampire.
I know who you're talking about. I think it is Jack
Okay.
O'Connell, right?
Yeah, Jack O'Connell plays this guy called the Jimmy, the head of cult member of this gang called the Jimmies, who are all dressed up like Jimmy Savile, who in the world of 28 years later was never exposed as a pedophile because of the whole zombie apocalypse happening. So and he's still like thought of this mythical figure, like this nice figure for people that grew up in the fucking zombie apocalypse. and Jack O'Connell just goes like marauding from like family to family in the apocalypse, just killing people and just like, naming them and having this gang going after him. And it's a movie that just like no, it's pedal to the metal in some parts where it's just like really awesome shit and still has a little bit of emotional core that the first one did. But just a fun sequel, fun follow up. The new one, if they do a third one, it's gonna be great.
So
I'm all in.
it's distinct enough from the one that came out last year.
Well, I think also it's a flare of direction styles where like Danny Boyle had this whole experimental film technique in the first 28 years later that was all filmed with iPhones where they would do like they'd shoot a zombie and then all of a sudden they'd have a whole rig that was like 10
Yeah.
iPhones at
Well
once.
so
And
that's where we need to we do need to clarify some things when people are like, "It was shot on an iPhone," and it was like, "Yeah, have you seen the production stills of it? They were not just shooting it like, that
it
was the
was
base of it, okay?"
it
Like
was like it was like 10 iPhones at once or something, and then, like, would be like, as someone gets shot, and then you'd see the angle from one end, and then immediately like, cut to another angle from another iPhone, and made it this really cool snap dynamic of filmmaking. Whereas Nia DaCosta's style felt a little bit more kinetic in a way, like a lot of close-ups on actors in a way that the first one didn't, and it was really cool to see the visual style, especially 6 months later after you just saw the original. So I feel like though releasing it 6 months later was a mistake because a lot of people probably didn't even realize this was a new movie. They're like, "Oh,
yeah,
they're just releasing the one from last year." And plus, as much as I love saying The Bone Temple, maybe just name your movie The Bone Temple, and then, like, I don't know.
28 years later story or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I do feel like or just 28 years later too. Like, what happened to 2? Like, I understand it's for search engine optimization, and if you don't know what that is, it's when media companies pay Google to prioritize their searches. That's why
Mm,
everything has a stupid name to it. Like,
yeah.
it's very
Like,
rare that
back
you
in the era that every movie had a hashtag.
yeah, so it's like that. It's for marketing purposes. But I just love it. I love a good sequel. Just call it part 2. Like,
Yeah,
what happened to
it's
that?
okay. They
Wicked for
could have
Good.
easily
Wicked for Good. I'm looking at you. Like, horrible name. Part
didn't
2.
they say in the Golden Globes, like, Wicked 2, The Search for More Money or
Did
More
they?
Money for
I didn't
Good?
watch. I didn't. I. It's hard for me to get it up for award season, man. I just.
Yeah, yeah.
They're just
I
so
only
out.
really
It's
watched the
so out of.
Oscars.
After Amelia Perez was nominated for 12 awards last year, I was just like,
That was the worst movie I saw in 2024.
I was just like, "I'm good. I'm out, man." Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
just a
I could
little
feel
out of
that.
touch. Still a little out of touch. So would you recommend to go see The Bone Temple 28 years
Yeah,
later?
I definitely recommend it. There's one sequence towards the end of the movie that's like one of the most metal things I've seen in the movie ever, in a really almost literal way. So check it out.
Well, I don't believe we've touched on this on the podcast, but I watched a Ryan Johnson whodunit called Not Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out Story.
You see,
Um,
that's a better title.
that is a better title. Much better title. Um, really fun
Huh.
movie. I have criticized Ryan Johnson for The Last Jedi before. I know you like it. I don't like it. Whatever. He's clearly found gold with the Knives Out formula. My thing is, I've never gone back and rewatched them. I don't know how
Really?
well. Yeah, I don't know how well. Because here's my thing with it. I don't know how well it's going to hold up when I know what's going to happen. I feel like there's just a
Well,
thrill to a whodunit that you like that keeps you in suspense and on the edge of your seat. At least this time around, it had its original twist. I remember the second one had a very similar twist to the first one, where it was like, "This is the bad guy. It's very clear the bad guy," and then there's just a bunch of red herrings, and it's like, "Oh, it was the bad guy all along."
yeah,
And
yeah.
then in this
Well,
one,
I don't know. I have to fight back a little bit with the whole not rewatchable whodunit thing because I,
I didn't say they weren't rewatchable. I said
well,
I haven't
you weren't you
rewatched them.
they hold up really well on rewatch. Our buddy Will, whenever he comes to visit me, that's like in the rotation of movies he'll throw on. Like it's either like that or like any of the Mission Impossibles or Hateful Eight. So
That is the
I
most that's the most Will Hopkins powers list I've ever heard. Shout out
yeah,
Will
yeah.
Hopkins.
But But we'll watch like Knives Out, especially Knives Out 2 a lot. And that movie just like really it's I think the characters bring you back to it. Where if you have fun characters in your who done it doesn't really matter if you already know what the twist is or who the killer is. You just want to live in that world again. I mean, the best example for that for me is Scream. Scream also is a slasher movie, so it has more elements than just a who done it. But at the end of the day, that is just a who done it premise. Like, okay, who killed all these people? But when you get the Knives Out, I think that Ryan Johnson just created like the one of the best characters we've had in like the last like decade.
I
Ben
f I
Blunt.
m my biggest complaint was I felt like Benoit Blanc was a little neutered in this one. Like, I just felt like he was a little bit there for the ride in this one, you know?
I think in a way they didn't frame as like the protagonist, or I think he was more the protagonist in the second one.
Yeah, no, this was
Um,
a Josh
n-
O'Connor
yeah,
this was a
it's like
Josh O'Connor movie.
you go into it. The start the pretty much like protagonist of the first one was Anna de Armas. That's the first time I ever really noticed her too. And then the second one was Benoit Blanc was the main protagonist, and this one's Josh O'Connor.
Yeah, but I still felt like even though Anna de Armas was the protagonist in the first one, I still felt like Benoit Blanc had just such a bigger presence in that movie. Like, in this
Mm,
one, it felt like they wrote the training wheels on him, and it was cool. Like, I it's like because I love that character, it's such a like, you just want Benoit Blanc in, like, half of your movies. Like, you just want that guy show up
yeah,
in
yeah.
movies. I so, like, that's my only but I think it, like, works for this movie really well, and I think it works in keeping this series of films alive because you know, you just have one consistent character throughout the movies. That's the only thread that's kinda, like, holding these together. Also,
Mm.
Mila Kunis as the police sheriff, just, she's not a
She was
sheriff.
there.
She's she's not a sheriff. I don't know what to tell you.
I feel like that's the first, like, prominent role she's had in a while too.
Yeah,
But yeah, the main, like, thing that sucks about these movies is that now Netflix owns them and they don't get proper theatrical releases.
yes,
Because
I
I saw 2 and 3 both in theaters, both with Will, and they're so much fun in it with a huge crowd.
so
They play really well in that environment.
the local theater by me, the Belcourt, was the only one showing it in theaters proper, and
Mm,
I couldn't go and see it in theater because the run times are at, like, 1:30 in the afternoon.
yeah.
Like, it was just like it's just frustrating. I was like, "Come on, like, give me a real runtime. Like, give me a 7." It's either that or it was, like, 4:50. It's like, "What are we doing here? Like,
Yeah,
what
it's
is
like
this?" And my girlfriend wanted to see it, so it's like, "Okay, well, like, I'm not gonna go see this movie that you also wanna see, not bring you and watch it with you." Like, we had it I was like, "Oh, do you wanna go see this stuff, 4:50?" She's like, "Are you out of your mind? I'm not gonna get there by 4:50." Like, I know, but, like, maybe
but
we could make it work, but no.
yeah,
We could not make that work, but it's a fun whodunit. It's on Netflix. You have Netflix, you can go watch it. You'll have a good time. You'll
yeah,
enjoy it. So, I don't have a TV spot for All the President's Men, so I'm just gonna do an awkward vamp into the transition here, and All the President's Men is a 1976 American biographical political thriller. Film directed by Alan J. Pakula with a screenplay by William Goldman about the Watergate scandal that brought down the presidency of Richard Nixon, based on the 1974 nonfiction book by journalists Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward. It stars Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman as Woodward and Bernstein, respectively, as they investigate the scandal for the Washington Post. So, this was Robert Redford's project. Like, this was his
mhm,
baby. Um, he started following this while promoting the candidate and just reading these stories in the Washington Posts. And he spoke with with Woodward in November 1972 and bought the right to the book in 1974. And 2 years later, this movie was released. Um,
mm,
you know what this kind of reminded me of in a way? The Social Network, where like I remember in and this was just me being like cynical high schooler, like not really knowing who David Fincher was, like not putting all those pieces together. But where the Social Network came out, and I was like, "Oh, really? Like Facebook just started. Like, we're really getting a movie about that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is happened in 19 this movie covers events from 1972 and the film was released in 1976. Like, that is not.
The crazy are you crazier is that the fact that the epilogue, Nixon resigning, happened only 2 years before the movie was released.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like you said, a quick turnaround, which is just wild to think about because this immediately was dramatized where it's like, okay, this is like definitely a, you know, movie-worthy story, and, Redford had the eye for that.
Well,
So,
I wanna talk about the Nixon of this all and just kinda get it out of the way here because if you talk to, like if you listen to, like, film historians or talk to people who, it's in a lot of documentaries about movies from the '70s. Like, I remember in the making of the Star Wars trilogy documentary, it's really brought up there, where when you think of the '70s, like, in film, it's a lot of anti-heroes, it's a lot of mistrust, which is a really big departure from old Hollywood, and
mm,
especially, like, the studio age, and we have th like, and that all kinda stems from this mistrust in the government. Like, you have Vietnam War, people not trusting the government, people being like, "Why are we in this war? What is this?" And then it, like, all capitulates with this scandal of Richard Nixon bugging the DNC to and this entire scandal. And I just think it's, like I think it's very interesting that this is coming out in the middle of that decade, like, kinda just telling that story, like,
yeah, yeah, and
very
I think
verbatim.
they very verbatim, but I think they aren't like, brushing away anything. And I do like the choice that you don't see Nixon, like, at all as, like, you have an actor playing Nixon in this
Mhm.
movie. There's something different, like, there was that movie Dick that came out in '99, but that was, like, a comedic version of this,
There was
where that
also there's also I watched part of it, but it's, like, 3.5 hours long, but it's, Sir
what, The
Anthony
Post?
Hopkins playing Richard Nixon. I think it's called Nixon.
Oh, yeah, there
Um,
wasn't, Anthony Hopkins' Nixon movie, but, like, I think the choice of just having Nixon just only appear on the TV, throughout the movie is a really a good choice and another great, amazing director choice because, like, you can imagine, like, some guy, like, if especially with this movie being so current to actual realities, someone playing Nixon in reality probably would have been, like, a hack-eyed performance. And it's one thing when you have a movie like freaking, like Dick, which is supposed to be a comedy, which also I wanna say they cast Dan Hedaya as Richard Nixon in that movie. If there's ever a guy born to play Richard Nixon, is that motherfucker.
yes.
Side note. But good for this movie, All the President's Men, that they didn't do something like that, because it would've just been cheesy or whatever. So, yeah.
No, I mean, but there's a lot of the side like, the big names that come up, like, they talk a lot about the Big 5 who were in charge of the slush fund and the funding getting sent out. Like,
Mm,
none of those guys, like, any of the big honchos are not depicted in this movie whatsoever. It's all from, like, the clone crony level down, right? Like, and there's none of that. Like, the only depiction we get of the White House is, when they deliver the Washington Post in the morning and you just get the security guard and the driver just nodding and just a little cut to the newspaper there just being like, "The White House knows this is coming, like, it is getting delivered to their front door." Like, it was a
mm,
good way to be like, "Hey, the White House is present of this, but we don't n like, it doesn't need this scene to take away from the perspective, because like, this is all driven by Dustin Hoffman, Robert Redford. Like, the
yeah.
only other scenes is when uh the heads of the Washington Post meet and talk about the publishing schedules, right? Like, that's the only other difference.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that what's great is just, like, packing it filled with, like, just, like, really good character actors, like, you have Ned Beatty coming up as, like, one of the guys that they talk to for a bit, and the whole scene about that, and I think my favorite standout was Robert Walden as, Don Segretti, who were, like he immediately smiles when he answers the door, and it's, like, this creepy, wide-eyed smile
Yes.
that just, like, really makes you think, like, "Okay, like, is Dustin Hoffman getting into some shit that maybe he shouldn't be?" So it adds to, like, a little bit of, like, suspense and thriller where, like, you cast these guys that just have, like, weird menace just by being there, when you see him.
Yeah, 100%. And then there's the guy who what was Stein? listen, I'm just gonna get this out of the way. I mentioned this to Tommy beforehand. There are a lot of names in this one, and it's a lot of referencing of names, like, over and over again, and the movie just kinda jumps from name to name, and for me, I definitely am going to get people's names confused here. I just want this
That's
brought
why I
up
have
on the
the
record.
Wikipedia page pulled up
I
right there in cast
y
list.
cast list pulled up here just to correct me, but he was the guy at the CREEP, the committee to reelect the president, who had to resign because his wife made him resign, and
Oh,
they go in it.
Sloan, played by the
Sloan.
step by he's played by fucking what's the movie? Seventh Heaven guy. He was the
Oh,
priest in that.
really?
And then he lost his fucking career for some not good shit. I'll put it at that.
Are we talking like principal from Ferris Bueller shit?
We're talking like Epstein shit, practically.
Oh, oh,
So yeah. Whole other tangent we can get on about
whole
Seventh
whole other
Heaven.
tangent here that just
And a
completely.
show I was forced to watch when I was a kid. I was like, the gather around kids, we gotta watch Seventh Heaven. Awful show. Where it's like a show where like the mom would be like, "Oh my god, my daughter says she hates me and she's 3 years old." It's like, yeah, that's what 3 years old do.
In 20, so Stephen Weaver Collins, um,
He was
in
the
20
matriarch in a very Christian show.
in 2014, his career came to an end after he confessed to sexual abuse against multiple minors. Okay, cool, good to know.
Well, anyways, moving on from that, but it's
Mo-
still like that was a really good performance too, despite all that shit. But even like the guys that populate within the office itself. I mean, you have Jack Warden, who this is the second time I think we've covered him. He was like one of the jurors in 12 Angry Men, the one that wanted to go to the Yankees game, and he pops up in
Oh,
this, and yeah, yeah. He's a great character actor, like, or
oh,
even maybe more of a character actor to the point that he like end up showing up in movies like Dirty Work later in life, where like, he was like the grandpa in that or the dad in that. But he just gives so much just like energy to this movie because he's a real actor. He's been around the block for a while. You can
yeah.
really sense it in that moment. Even the fact you have like the Hal Holbrook playing Deep Throat. Deep Throat, I thought the scenes with Deep Throat, just to talk about
Oh,
cinematography a little bit more, I thought were
unbelievable.
excellently shot. Like we used to know how to shoot light in movies. It's not really a skill we see that much these days. But just the whole ambiance around it, where there's like smoke coming around sometimes when
I
he
love
walks up.
that. I love that introduction of the character Deep Throat. The Deep Throat is Woodward, played by Redford. His
Yeah.
inside source. He's a White House aide, um, who will not go on the record, but he will talk to him, and he's basically a confirmation. He's a am I on the right track for most of the movie
Mm.
until we get to the end where he's just like, I'm done pussyfooting around. Tell me what is going on here. Like, don't tell me I need to keep looking into this. Like, I will resign if I got this wrong, but tell me. Um, but it's he, you know, there's a whole concoction of Redford having to take multiple cabs to go find him, and you have this great long shot of him going down the stairwell. It's just positioned there. You're just following him all the way down. Like, this is a very
You
intricate
could
meetup process.
you can argue that like the whole like Deep Throat scenes and maybe Deep Throat in general was like the basis of the X Files, where like Chris Carter saw that, and I was like, government conspiracy. I could do a show like that because there's like scenes in the X Files are like playing off this moment of All the President's Men, where like
I,
David Duchovny sees someone down in a parking lot abandoned, talking to him about like, you don't know the thing about aliens right here is
I feel
Mulder.
like every parking lot scene ever since All the President's Men has been inspired by the Deep Throat scenes in All the President's Men
Literally,
because they're so
yeah.
incredible. And they're sparse. There's only three of them. Um,
Mhm.
but I love
And,
like the
and
first one, and he's just like over here, and he's just like looking around, and you just
mm,
hear of the lighter, and like the only thing in frame is really just him smoking in this like beautiful wide shot of this dark parking lot. Still lit
yeah,
for you to be able to see, by the way. Like the shadows are in the background, but the foreground is lit. It's not just a black
yeah.
screen. It's great. What happened?
Yeah, yeah.
Why can't we
It's
film
a
that
great
anymore?
cinematography. I guess it's a good place to talk about. I think that one thing that blew me away with this movie was just sound design and like the restraint that
Mhm.
they had with like even playing the score. There is a score to this movie, but it doesn't pop up that much. It only pops up in a few scenes here and there.
It's only when they're moving, right? It's only I
Yeah,
it's only used as like a
and even
pat
more when it's like they're really paranoid or something like that. I feel like that
it's to drive in
essentially,
the theme. So it's like it's either to drive in the mystery of it or it's either to drive home the paranoia that's kinda going on there.
yeah,
Because
because like, a lot of the scenes will just be, like, them talking to people, like, in the office or something like that, and, there easily could have been, like, a score that was used, like, a rousing score, or, like, with them on the phone,
mhm,
like, Hoffman talking to, like, some source and just, like, going on and on and on, but you don't hear that, all you hear is just
is
clacking of typewriters. Yeah, literally. That
that's it.
over and over and over again. I think that really adds to it, really adds to, like, the world that they're living in, really sells you where you're living in. And even when you go to the apartments of random characters where it could have easily been like a menacing little score undercurrent them. We don't have that. We just hear the silence, and I
Um,
feel like it really adds to the tension. It's awesome.
underrated montage movie, by the way, of
Yeah.
when they're interviewing the creep people. We get the
Mhm.
first one with the woman who's, like, really like, you can tell everybody's really scared to talk, and then it just cuts to, like, them going to 10 different houses and just having the door slammed in their face, like, I love that. I love that so much, just keep it moving, but telling us exactly what we need to know, like, this is a colossal failure, and that's when the score trickles in, it's over these parts where it's like, we're moving along, time is passing a little bit. It's always in these little moments that the score fills in, but anytime there's any serious dialogue happening, still is air. Like there's no sound. It's just the ambiance of the office, the ambiance of the world. I I completely agree because like the score is probably in the movie for like 20 minutes. It's really not in there a lot of this 2 hour 10-minute runtime. But I loved when it was used, and it was to go back to my original point that like documentary feel, like that Friedkin feel of just that like stillness, like it's borrowing from that. You can kind of see that connection there.
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's
Um,
insane. Well, in terms of like the casting, I think that they dodged a bullet right here. So pretty much all the president's men, like we were talking about, is about the Watergate conspiracy and how the Washington Post helped break it. And we follow these two reporters, for the most part, one played by Dustin Hoffman and one played by Robert Redford. And their interplay is great. Their chemistry is amazing. But I think this movie could have been a train wreck if they casted who Redford initially was thinking of, and that was Al Pacino. Hooah!
really?
And
You don't think he could have done it?
I think he could have, but I think that, like, Dustin Hoffman plays nervy
Mhm.
way more better than Pacino does. Not that Pacino's bad at, playing nervy, but, like, I think that, like, he has this, like, little nebbish energy to him that I think the character needs that I don't really
It's
see coming out of Pacino as much.
he's got this like it's a really good Hoffman performance. Maybe my favorite of his that I've seen, where
Mm.
he's nervy, but he's got this like flair to it that he brings out. Like
It's like
it's
coffee and nerviness,
yeah,
like, the
it's not Pacino and Heat cocaine nervy, it's but it's not just coffee. It's like it's the moment with the guy down at the boats. What's his name? I have the list here, but I have to keep going back and forth from my tabs here. I'll see to go see Segretti, Don Segretti, where it's just like there's just this like effortless coolness to him doing it
mm,
that isn't there at the beginning. Like when we first are introduced to this character, and like the first time we're really properly introduced to him is when Redford's working on his first draft, and he just kind of like takes the papers out of the bin that go to the editor and
mm.
starts like rewriting the story, or like polishing it up. And it's like the first time we see these two collaborating. But he doesn't really have that there. But like as he gets more comfortable into this story, his character, like his performance, just like the confidence comes through with the nervousness. Like
Yeah,
when
yeah, like,
he's
even
not
to the
a
point.
when he first starts interrogating people, he's not as good at it as he is towards the end in
Mhm.
getting the responses that he wants.
And that's another good montage of them just getting, like, hung up on the phone and stuff like that,
Oh, yeah.
failing immediately. But, I think one of my favorite, moments of, like, Dustin Hoffman just being nervy is him and Redford, they're, in, like, a office or something like that, bouncing back and forth off them about who the different people be, like, who could P was it PWL or something like that?
Yeah, PLM.
PLM. Yeah, so they're going back and forth, playing off each other, and you just see the chemistry right there bouncing off, and Hoffman's me like, "Yeah, this." It's just really fun, and with that one moment, and it carries on throughout.
Oh, yeah, and and it's interesting to me because, when you look at Redford, you're just like, "That is a handsome man."
Mm,
And, when we were watching The Sting, he was just like this ball of charisma, like, just oozing that personality, and it's a really restrained performance from him where I feel like he's really playing this Woodward character more buttoned up, where it's interesting to watch Hoffman's nervy character kind of take being able to connect more with people in a way that Redford's character really isn't when he's trying to interview these people. Like,
mm.
Redford's character, Woodward, is better at reading people and when they're pressing people for information. Like, there's the scene with the girl from Slapshot. Um, she works in the office. She dated a guy who worked at the Creep, and they're trying to get a list of all the employees. It's all confidential, and they're really pushing her, and he just is looking at her and goes, "No, you know what? We don't want to make you uncomfortable. Don't do it." And then the next scene cuts
Yeah.
to that list getting dropped on his desk and her just looking at it, right? And it's just those like little moments right there where you go, "Oh, okay." Like you're seeing the different strengths of these guys. Whereas like Hoffman, when he's interrogating the woman who is the secretary, and it's for 6 hours. He has 20 cups of coffee there just trying to get this information where he gets the LPM. Like, we're watching their different, like, like, I don't want to say good cop, bad cop because it's not the style that they're doing, but just balancing off the differences of the two to get the information that they need and using each other's strengths to get it. Like, it's just these
Yeah, yeah.
really great, like, character moments. It's just, and I think it works in this style of movie where it's really plot driven.
Mhm. Yeah, and
Where,
they make it just chock full of just great interplay where you just get to see these 2 guys bounce off each other.
but we learn a lot about these characters from
Mm,
how they act and how they're delivering the information. Like, there's no scenes of these guys, like, explaining their backstory, explaining "My father hit me, my dad was a," whatever the little triabs will be. Like, there's none of that with like, we don't know anything about these guys
yeah, we barely know
outside
their
of
lives
this.
at all. They're just focused on the job, and I think it's, also an undercurrent. I feel like it could have easily ballooned up into, like, something else if you had, like, it focused. This is already a long movie, and we don't need all the extra stuff. Just keep it
Mm,
focused.
keep it focused because and it is a lot of moving parts, and it's a movie that wouldn't be made by Netflix. I don't know if you saw Matt Damon and Ben Affleck have been doing the circus for their new
Yeah,
Netflix
and
movie,
Damon
and
said the thing that was like,
he said the
Netflix
quiet
told
part out
us,
loud.
yeah, you have to repeat the plot 3 to 4 times, like, every, like, few minutes or so. So, like, people that are watching on their phones or, like, are not really watching can, like, understand what's going on in the movie.
Whereas in this one, like, they can't repeat information because the information is moving so fast, you have to be dialed in for this movie. Like,
Mm,
this is you if you look away for 1 second, you're going to miss something.
exactly. This is a turn your phone off and, like, get in, lock in.
Get in, lock in, and the movie makes it so accessible, so easy. Like, even the beginning, like, I love how they just did that choice where it's just this, like, little, like, actual thriller
Mm,
that's put in there. It's just like, of the actual break-in and the cops coming in. You're just sitting there like watching it and being like, I know this movie is a political, journalistic thriller. Like, what is this? And then you just realize it's just capturing those events and bringing you into the story, being like kind of letting you know the severity of this. And I love in the beginning too. There's the watchmen across the from that hotel from another one, like looking in, like walkie talking to these guys, what's going on. So it's very
Mm.
clear how organized this is. Because I think another thing this movie does really well, like you could go in blind to the Watergate scandal knowing absolutely nothing about it, and just like the subtext and clues, like early on, tell you how organized this was.
Well, it's almost a shocker that, like, we haven't seen this in, like, high school. It feels like it would be a layup for, like, your high school history class. Like,
Like
here, we're talking about
last 2 weeks after the exams are done, just like, yeah, throw out a
or
little all the president's men.
not even, because it feels like a little bit more than just, like, I don't know, like, when I convinced my, like, participation in government class to, like, watch Captain America, because I was like, there's government in it. It's World War
That
II. It's
is
a period piece."
that is the most high school Tommy thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, yeah. So, but because also this movie, it's not rated R. It almost was. There's a whole pushback where like this originally got like an R rating because it says fuck a lot. And Robert Redford and Warner Brothers were like, hell no, we're not doing that. Like, come on, this movie should not be, because the subject matter and the historical importance means it should get a lower rating. So pretty much they had to like redo a lot of stuff, and they eventually reclassified the movie as PG. So the NPA president even said if they didn't say fuck so much, it's like, yeah, we would have given it a G. But you say fuck too much, and the NPA is like, no, no
Yeah,
naughty words.
they're usually very strict about that. I do think the historical relevance of this subject is what's going, allow
That
you to
and
have that power. But I feel like
Redford,
they didn't say fuck a lot. Like, it was, like, less than 10 times. It wasn't like, I guess for the '70s, that's a lot, but it wasn't
even then,
that
yeah,
much.
I feel like wasn't Bad News Bears like not rated R at the time? I'll have to look that up. Fact check myself right there.
Different time. It was definitely not rated R. It was definitely a PG movie. Baseball movie about kids? Come on, that's a PG movie. Um, but yeah, I I think
It
now
was PG.
it was PG.
Yeah.
Um, but I think now is the time that we get into the performances here, because this is really a tour de force of performances.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
All right, Tommy, who's the star of the show? Who gave the best performance? I think we should just go through and just kind of shout out some of our bit players here that we've kind of touched upon, but we haven't really gone, given the full roses. Jason
Yeah,
Robards as Ben Bradley was just fantastic.
immediately. I mean, this guy won the Oscar for the movie. This was in '76. He beat Ned Beatty in Network, Burgess Meredith in Rocky. Great performance right there. Laurence Olivier in Marathon Man, and Burt Young in Rocky. I didn't realize Rocky was a two supporting actor nominee movie. Yeah, those are some heavy lifters that he beat right there, and like you can see why. I mean, just like the immediate like charm this guy has as like the gruff old boss, but in a way that like he has that whole anecdote where he talks about, it's probably what won the Oscar, where he talks about how Lyndon B. Johnson like was not going to rehire J. Edgar Hoover or something like that, and then he, based on his reporting, having J. Edgar Hoover and Lyndon Johnson said to like his aide, "Tell Ben Bradley, go fuck yourself" or something. Just
Yeah, and
immediate
he
warmth.
made J. Edgar Hoover the head of the FBI for life. Um,
Yeah, yeah, essentially.
so we
But it's
kind
just a
of
great mentoree moment.
but it's also like it's like where we learn why he's continuing with this story. Like he understands why, from his perspective, like every other news outlet had just kind of thrown this story away. Like just said
Mm,
it's just not worth doing it, because it really was that sheltered. It was really that protected. Like you're going after the most powerful people in the country, and it spreads across the entire intelligence justice department, like intelligence community, the justice department. Like this is a whole big cover up for the people in power, and it's pretty remarkable the courage these guys have. And I love Ben Bradley at the end too, where they have where right after the last meeting with Deep Throat, and they learn like Redford learns like your lives are at risk, and there's that great scene where he goes into um, Hoffman's apartment, blasts the classical music, and starts typing on the typewriter, being like, "We are not ushering this to everybody." And then they go to Ben Bradley's house, and they're like, come outside. Nope, there's electronic bugging, and he tells them everything, and he's just like, okay, so the reporting's right. Go home, wash yourself up, take a 15-minute bath, and get back at it. It's not done. Like just like loved that little moment. It was like for this kind of movie where I feel like my main criticism of it is that it just like I wanted more. And I don't say that often when it's like a 2 hour, 10-minute movie. I do
It didn't
love
feel
how
it.
it didn't feel its length at all. But I like this movie could have been 3 hours and I would have been totally fine with that.
Yeah, because it's just like The Office itself, like you could almost see just a TV show of like I would have loved to see all those guys just like crack other cases if they like the wasn't based on a real story or whatever. So there's actually two actors from 12 Angry Men in this movie. Um,
Okay.
the other one was Martin Balsam. He played Howard Simmons, who's one of the head like bosses at the Washington Post. He was the guy with the thick glasses that was balding.
Oh,
He
okay.
he was juror number one in 12 Angry Men. So really fun performance too. Not as impactful as Ben Bradley or even Jack Warden, who we shouted out earlier in the podcast. But it's cool that like the through line we see of just like these two guys in two of the most classic movies of all time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And like I just loved Martin Balsam, Jack Warden, just like they were just kind of like these big guys, just like these characters in The Office, these older editors who just they just added so much like character and flavor. And like for a movie that's very serious and there's not really any moment of levity, it really only comes from them when they're talking.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. Even Dustin Hoffman, I feel like adds a little bit of levity, but still, um, just great little moments right there. I mean, Stephen Collins, fuck him, but that was a good performance.
It was all great performances. It was all straight ledger, and you know,
Even when you have Ned Beatty showing up for one scene, which is just wild.
total heat check moment for me.
And just such a fun little scene where, like, you know, have Dustin Hoffman trying to get around the secretary because he needs to get this information from Ned Beatty's character, Martin Dardis. So he pretty much just like, first the secretary tells him no. So then he calls out from like the lobby being like, oh, there's like someone here for you. And then she goes out and lobbies the secretary. He runs into Ned Beatty in the middle of a call and he's like, I'm the press, I'm the press, I'm the press, I'm the press. And it's like, all right, I'll call you later. Ned Beatty, just the interplay they have, or Ned Beatty's clearly just ignore this guy.
Yeah.
And I
Well, he
keep
had been
thinking
in the
Ned Beatty.
office for the entire day. He was supposed to meet him at 9:15 and just was clearly getting pushed off, being like, "Oh, I made this appointment, but I got too much to do. I'm not doing this today." Yeah, just a great little scene with Ned Beatty. But when it
Yeah,
comes down,
you know what Ned Beatty's character is famous for in real life? One of the other things?
what
You'll like this. He broke the story of, Pete Rose's gambling.
really
Yeah.
nice, nice,
So,
yeah. Um, so, but when it comes down to it, there's two lead performances in this: Dustin Hoffman, Robert Redford. Who do you think is the star of the show? Who gave the best performance?
I think Dustin Hoffman of the 2. Obviously, it's gonna be one of the 2 that we have to pick. I think Dustin Hoffman just, like, really plays into his, like, movie star persona, that's just, like, amazingly right here, like, hand in glove right here, and, it works for the movie, and it works for, like, the little bit of levity you have of him just, like, nervy, like, acting around people and stuff like that. Very compelling, performance right there.
So I'm gonna make the case for Robert Redford here, where I feel like his performance is so controlled, and it kind of shows a range that I didn't know he had from the limited roles of his. I need to watch more Redford clearly, but he's using his charisma differently, and it's so like embodied with who this character needs to be for this story that I just think he just provides this like compelling figure of authority that like from The Sting, for example, we didn't really see from him, where he's like that young Wickerbacher. And this is 3 years later. This is not some big gap in time and maturity in his performances. This is very close together. And it's Dustin Hoffman, though. I know. I just wanted to make the case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like I can't argue it.
He's just electric in this. Every scene that he's in is just so much fun.
Well, it is
And
shocking because, like, looking at the Oscar, that Dustin Hoffman himself wasn't, like, nominated. You know, in terms of Oscar, you have Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor of Jason Robards, which he won, and then Best Supporting Actress for Jane Alexander, who she was really good in this movie as like one of the other people in the office. But where's the Dustin Hoffman? Was this voter fatigue at the time?
Yeah. Yeah, and
It was
it's
also, I guess, the year of Rocky.
yeah, but Stallone didn't win for Rocky for Best Actor.
He's nominated at least, right? Yeah, fact check real quick.
We're
This
fact
is the
checking.
year of Network, another movie that was about reporting, and this is Peter Finch winning the Oscar. We're like, I'm mad and I can't take it anymore. That's the guy, right?
Yeah,
We need to cover that movie eventually.
we do need to cover that. I like that we're just using this podcast as an excuse to watch classics from the 1970s.
We're just going off the thing where it's like, have you seen Network? No, I've not seen Network. Have you seen this? Have you seen that? So,
But yeah, it's clearly Dustin Hoffman's character and his performance.
Are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
Tommy, does All the President's Men work as a Muppet adaptation?
100%, because I remember a Family Guy clip where like the scene where Kermit the Frog was Deep Throat. There's a whole thing where like they're talking like and like all of a sudden it's like, oh, you gotta find the source, you gotta find the money. And plus you have the movie Dick, and Dick is like a comedic version of this, and you could just like make that just like 5% more Muppets, and then that movie is the same.
I think it would just be funny if you keep Redford and Dustin Hoffman, and everybody they have to interview is just a Muppet. Like everybody involved in this cover up is just a Muppet. Like that's funny.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Nixon
Like
on
you
the
wouldn't
TV,
think
but
it could work,
Nixon's played
but
by.
it could. Well, yeah,
They just
that
superimpose Sam
doesn't.
the Eagle on for Nixon.
Yeah, he's the president. Come on now. But yeah, you could definitely do something with this. You could do something with this. Like it would make it a little more in that Dick vein, but it would it could be done.
Yeah.
All right, Tommy, review time. Give me your score out of 5 for All the President's Men.
All right. This movie, very compelling on first watch. I definitely want to rewatch this again. And just relive like all the thing, the performances, great like little heat checks here and there. And Redford and Dustin Hoffman's pretty much chemistry is great. Cinematography is fantastic for a movie that's mostly talking scenes, and the sound design is excellent. Just like so many scenes are just like hearing birds chirping while people are talking, and instead of just like a score driving the motion. I'm going 4.5 out of 5. Excellent movie. Really glad we watched this one.
Yeah, I'm also 4.5 out of 5. Just excellent screenplay, like really focused, really concise.
William Goldman.
Yeah, William Goldman. One of these movies I definitely need to rewatch again, where there's just such a pace and such a tension that just really compels you through a movie that is just talking, but it is through that filmmaking that Alan Pakula just excelled at here, where he really kept it grounded, and he really used the lens of the camera as a way to describe what was going on, and just like it felt like every shot we were learning 2 or 3 things about what's going on, whether it was the characters, the plot, the story. There were more things going on in all of these scenes, and it just brings this movie to another level. 4.5 out of 5 for me. Highly recommend this movie if you haven't seen it. So, Tommy, any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. You can find us on social media at SeenItPod. That's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're also on Bluesky at podseenit.bluesky.social. And we're also on YouTube. So check us out on YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Helps us out, helps us grow the show. And next week, we're changing it up. We're not watching an Oscar movie. We're watching Darkman. Sam Raimi is a superhero movie from 1990, starring Liam Neeson. We have a special guest, John from the Pint of Pop Culture podcast. It's going to be fun. It's Sam Raimi's new movie, Send Help, is coming out next week. So we got to cover a classic Raimi that Tim has never seen, shockingly.
By Raimi, I think I've seen everything he's done post Spider-Man and on, and then I've seen Evil Dead and Army of Darkness, but I haven't seen anything else he's done. So I am excited to see his style put in with no holds barred. thank you all so much for listening. We will see you next time.